I do feel, just as with dress codes and with anything in golf, if it was all one way and no other way, it would be boring. It does need to evolve in order to attract the next generation of golfers. And I think we're making good progress.
Welcome to Golf Yourself Healthy, the community of golfers who are unified in their belief that golf is good for you. I'm your host, Chris Lynch. Join me and invited guests as we share stories around how golf is helping us to live happy, healthy, and fulfilled lives. If you'd like to join our community, why not follow us on your podcast platform of choice and be notified of new episodes as soon as they're released. Please also check out our back catalogue of previous podcast episodes and journal articles at golfyourselfhealthy.com. In this episode, we welcome Mike Harris back to the show for his second ever guest appearance on the GYH podcast. Many of you listening will know of Mike as a highly experienced, reputable, and respected figure in the world of golf media. Mike has spent several decades now in and around the golf industry and the world of golf content, in his previous role as editor of Golf Monthly magazine, and now in his expanded remit of content director at Future Plc. His portfolio of brands includes not only Golf Monthly, but also brands across other ball sports, such as football with 442 and Rugby World. I'm grateful to have spent the day in Mike's company to record this episode and squeezing in a round of golf together at Royal Porthcawl, truly the jewel in the crown of Welsh golf. In this conversation, we cover a lot of ground. We get into what it means for a club like Royal Porthcawl to host major tournaments, such as the Senior Open in 2023, and looking ahead to next year, 2025, when the club will host the AIG Women's Open. We also chat about our mutual love for Golf Society trips and the companionship and friendship they offer, as well as how golf has helped Mike endure and overcome adversity in various areas of his life. We even touch on how, if we're not careful, our love of, or rather, our sometimes selfish obsession with golf can land us in trouble. Above all else, though, if there were a theme which sums up this episode, it would be that golf is diverse. It's diverse in terms of the variety it offers, the variety of ways in which we play, consume, experience, talk about, watch, or engage with the game. At the same time, though, golf is changing, it's evolving, it's on a journey to become more inclusive, even more diverse. And that we consider to be healthy. But without any further ado, let's tee off and jump into the conversation. Mike, welcome back to the Golf Yourself Healthy podcast. How you doing?
Very well, Chris. Thank you very much for having me on again. I thought I would have maybe talked too much last time and wouldn't get a invite back, but maybe not. Maybe that's what it's all about, right? Talking.
Well, this is long-form content, Mike. That's what it is all about, right? So no, it is all about talking and it's about conversations. So I think with the exception of Ben, who, so for our listeners who are listening to this and want to hear Mike's previous guest appearance on the podcast was with myself, Ben, who's a regular contributor to GYH, and Mike. That was episode 11. But like I say, you're the second person then that's come back for a repeat guest appearance on the podcast. So
I feel honoured.
I feel
genuinely, I do. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to come and talk to you. We're at a very special place today, which I'm sure we'll talk more about in a bit. But having the opportunity to be able to, I guess, talk with people who are on the same wavelength as you, talk about things that matter in life, talk about your love of golf. No, it's a real privilege. So thanks for having us.
Oh no, thanks, Mike. And I suppose that's something that we value on this podcast is kind of the depth of conversation that you get to have and the power of golf, and we'll get to that, I'm sure. But as you have just alluded to, we find ourselves at Royal Porthcawl today, a place which I've been to once before to play many years ago, once last year for the Senior Open. I think for me, both then as playing it, for me, it rightfully has its place as the number one golf course in Wales. I think also, I spoke in a recent podcast as well about the magic of the Open. It was a senior Open I attended here last year, and it was, that's my only experience of attending an Open, if you like, but it was pretty magical, and I think this place contributes to that in so many ways. I mean, tell us about your experience of Royal Porthcawl and what this place means to you.
Well, I think I've been to Porthcawl, around about 10 times in various, I guess for various things. I've been for media events. We're very lucky to celebrate the 50th birthday of Jez Elwood, who's a long-time Golf Monthly writer, contributor. He's a golf courses expert, played over 1,000 worldwide. And I brought the Golf Monthly team, I think there must have been 12 of us, came down for a night, had a wonderful meal in the dining room that actually we're sat in at the moment, enjoyed quite a few bottles of wine, retired to the Dormy house, woke up the next day all feeling a little bit worse for wear, and then had a most amazing round of golf. Beautiful November day. Jez's birthday is in November, and a lovely bit of winter golf, blew away the cobwebs. And then I've been back here with my annual golf tour, the Cornish Masters, which has only ever been played in Cornwall twice in its 25-year history, but got to have a name for something, right? But there was an epic Cornish Masters the year that we had the final round at Royal Porthcawl. So yeah, it holds a very special place in my heart. I'm Welsh, I know I don't sound like it. I was born in a little hamlet called Bethlehem, can you believe it? Which is, I guess, about an hour and a half up the road from here in Carmarthenshire. And I consider myself Welsh, so I can sort of feel like I'm coming home today, 3-hour drive from Hampshire where I live. Really exciting. I love the drive to a golf course. I just find the anticipation of the round ahead, coming to meet a friend. It's like, will you play well? Will you play poorly? What will the weather be like? So yeah, super excited to be here. It's a wonderful, wonderful golf course. You see the sea, rest bay from every hole. Great test of golf. Hosted many famous events over the years. The Amateur Walker Cup, of course. As you say, the Senior Open's been here. Lots of high profile amateur events. Have the AIG Women's Open next year, which would be fantastic. And then not only is it a great golf course, but it's a great club as well. This clubhouse that we're in is just full of history, full of character. If we turn around, probably if you're watching this as a video clip, you see Rest Bay behind us. It is just an immense spot to spend a day. Amazing food, amazing hospitality here. So yeah, very special to be here.
Yeah, definitely. We were having a word with John, the club secretary, on the way in here, and he obviously very much appreciated me putting him on the spot about the question about when are you going to host the Open, John? No, seriously, because I think, in the time, Mike, that I've really got obsessed with my golf and, taken interest in the professional game, for instance. I've heard in many corners of, say, the golf media, for instance, which it seems to be fairly commonly regarded that, if Wales were ever to host the Open, it would probably be this place for a number of reasons. But I wonder, you were saying that given your experience as a member at Royal Liverpool at Hoylake, there's a lot that you need to take into account before you even consider pitching to be an Open venue. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's a really significant undertaking for any club that hosts the Open Championship. Obviously, it's such a huge event, the infrastructure that goes with it, the stands, the hospitality areas, all that infrastructure is going in from, I guess, sort of February, March time. And then it's, whilst it's clear perhaps, a few weeks after the Open, you have to balance that incredible pride that the club and its members feel for hosting the Open Championship, the spotlight it obviously throws on the club, versus the sort of disruption. I think probably everybody, even maybe the most curmudgeonly members, would go, yeah, we'd love to host the Open. And I think Royal Porthcawl would be an amazing host for the Open Championship. Visually, it would probably be, I would say, alongside Turnberry, which obviously not currently on the road, it'd be the most visually attractive golf course, because you see Rest Bay and the channel from every hole. It would be an amazing backdrop. When you've had the Senior Open here or the Walker Cup, it's a jaw-dropping golf course.
Agreed.
But there's a lot of courses that would love to be on the rota. And I think it's obviously it's a huge financial undertaking from the R&A, local government, national government to, sort of make those infrastructure changes, that it's not something you just pop on the rotor once. You've got to think of it in terms of, I would think, a minimum of 3 or 4 opens. When you look at Royal Porthcawl, where obviously the open will go back to next year, a lot of investment from government there to help with those infrastructure costs. There was a commitment, I think I'm right in saying, of a minimum of 3 open championships. They obviously had the first one in 19, back there again next year. So, yeah, but it's also, I think Royal Porthcawl has this amazing tradition and history, and it's a real sort of cradle for amateur golf. There's been some really good amateur golfers come through Royal Porthcawl, and if it's just high profile amateur events and Senior Open, AIG Women's Open, then that's still pretty special. But yeah, it would be cool to have the Open in Wales. I remember when the Ryder Cup came to Celtic Manor, that was a huge thing for Wales. We did a lot of work when I was at Golf Monthly with the Welsh Tourist Board, looking to really make the most of the Ryder Cup coming to Wales, and I think they did a really good job of that. And Wales is such an underrated country to go and play golf in. Whether you're in the in the UK or whether you're an overseas visitor coming from the States or from Europe, there's so many great golf courses, such great value. Perhaps Wales' problem is it's not expensive enough. I think for the American market, that are used to paying these sort of eye-watering green fees, perhaps they immediately think, the cost, it can't be that good if it's not, $500 for a round of golf. Well, believe you me, Royal Porthcawl, Southern Down, Parling Kenfig, just down the road from here, Penard, Tenby, and then you go up to to North Wales, places like Royal St David's and Aberdyfi, just amazing golf courses. But yeah, there ends the segment for the Wales Tourist Board.
No, but actually, when you frame it like that, and having been down to Celtic Manor once or twice, for instance, you can see how there is a legacy, I think, that has been left there in different ways, and one in particular is it has put it on the map, I guess, right? And I guess that, from what you're saying, was primary objective, or one of the primary objectives.
Most definitely, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, I would just echo everything that you've said about, we do have some American listeners that listen to this, and so you've got to give Royal Porthcawl a go. What you said about this place visually as well, I remember from attending the Senior Open last year, they reorganised the layout a little bit, I think. So what is, for us, going to be playing, I think is the 18th, played as the first at the Senior Open, and the grandstand that was sat or positioned behind the first tee, looking right out over... Unbelievable, and it's magical stuff, and actually what you were saying about what it means to a club, to the members, some of the disruption that goes with, because it'll mean for a certain length of time you're not going to get to play, for instance, right? But what I observed then was, as I guess is probably pretty commonplace, Mike, is the members will volunteer around the course as marshals or as ball spotters or whatever, and I just very much got the vibe they were proud of that. They played that role proudly.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I think it's really special to be a member at a club that is hosting a significant event. You sort of get to bring your friends along, come for a drink in the clubhouse. You're sort of, you're everybody's best friend that week. And it's fascinating to watch the world's best players, whether they're female, male, amateur, professional, take on your golf course. And they obviously play shots that we couldn't even dream of hitting, but they'll have disasters at holes that we've had a birdie at, or you'll see them, drive it on a par 4 green, think, I never get anywhere near that. I'm normally hitting in a, 5-iron or a fairway wood into that, and they've sort of driven it on the front edge, and you realise that they play a different game to us, but we play on the same course. And I think, again, when we were chatting to John, the secretary, that appeal for American golfers to be able to come over to the UK and Ireland and play open championship courses, play some of the finest golf courses in the world. Royal Porthcawl would be comfortably world top 100 golf course. It's in the Golf Monthly GB&I or UK&I rankings, rather. It's number 21. I think it will have a, sort of good shout of getting into the top 20. in America, the idea of playing a top 100, one of their famous courses, it's like good luck unless you know somebody probably through business or you're at university with, or have a sort of family connection with. That's the great thing about golf in the UK and Ireland, with the exception of a handful of courses, none of which host the Open Championship, I might add. You can go and play at them. We were talking earlier about St Andrews, where I know you're up last week. I'm very lucky to be a member up at St Andrews, one of the St Andrews clubs. That's effectively a municipal golf course. Likewise, Carnoustie. And it's that golf being open to everybody, as it is in the UK and Ireland, that I think it's yet another reason to love the game of golf and love playing the game of golf.
Yeah, definitely. It was interesting, actually. It feels quite surreal, if that's the word, to consider that, as you say, I was in St Andrews on Friday, where I was playing the Eden course, where it overlooks the old course, and they're building up all the grandstands and the signage for the AIG Women's Open. And yeah, I mean, I think again, what for me is so great about that event, having attended it at Walton Heath last year, is you can see what that platform offers in relation to your avid golfers, as well as those who have a curiosity for the game or maybe just want a nice family day out. And I think they do that really well. And I mean, I don't know if you're intending to come to it next year. I'd love to. And try and reconnect then, because it'll be, and I would say to any of our listeners as well, again, definitely consider going to it, because actually, I don't know if it's still the case, because it sounds to me like the event's growing in popularity all the time, and especially from what John was just saying, the massive audience are expecting to watch and come to it. But it's relative to the Open, the men's Open, it's easier to get tickets, I think, for example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And interesting, I asked in the press conference at the AIG at Walton Heath last year, I actually asked Martin Slumbers, chief exec of the RNA, are there things, because it's totally different, as you say, different feel, different atmosphere, different sort of fan facilities and attractions, from the big concert that they sort of host to just, I guess, what happens in the fan village as well. Is there anything the Open, could take from the AIG? And he said, actually, we want to have them as different types of event. We don't, we actually think it's good to have some separation, position the AIG very much more as a, as perhaps a family day out. And I agree, it's, it's brilliant. I think as well, there are fewer spectators, you get to see more of the action. I always find that it's a bit of a cliche that sort of seems to do the rounds of, it's more relatable for male golfers to watch female pros play. And I think that's said because of the, relative hitting distances. But I can tell you the top female golfers still hit it out of sight.
Definitely.
I actually think the thing that every golfer can learn probably more from watching the women's professional game versus the men's professional game is the focus on tempo and timing. And it's sort of, they are not, the top female golfers are not trying to swing it out of their shoes, which you go and look at modern male professional golfers and they are trying to hit the ball so hard. So much of the training work they do, the speed work that they do, work in the gym, it is around just trying to hit it as far as possible. And that's what I think makes male professional golf, it's exciting, but it's not particularly relatable. And I think, as I say, you look at someone like Bryson or Rory, John Rahm swinging at the golf ball. Yeah, they have amazing tempo and timing, but they're swinging it really hard. Whereas you look at the top female golfers, much more relatable, and I think you can take much more away from the women's game in terms, again, how they approach. There's more strategy, definitely, in the women's game, as there's less focus on, on sort of power. It's, from my experience of watching ladies golf, professional golf, probably more creativity, more shot making. So it's great. It's great to watch. So 100%, I will be here for the AIG next year.
Amazing. Do you know, now that we're talking about this, I really want to ask you for your view on something here, Mike, because Ben and I, in the last episode we released, were talking about, I as I've said before, I want this podcast to, I don't want it to necessarily, I've said this thing about it not delving too deep into the whole PGA Live debate or whatever, because there's a whole bunch of content, or, there's others probably more qualified than I to talk about that. But one thing that we did talk about the other day was on the back of Live Golf having been at the JCB was, and again, sort of full disclaimer, me as a sober guy, like the party hole just ain't of any interest to me. But I was very drawn to an article that I read by a guy. It was written in the Liverpool Echo, and I don't remember if he was a golf journalist or who he was, but he talked about having him and his son had gone to the Open at Troon, and then they had been at JCB. And just talking about that difference in how in the grandstands in Troon, you couldn't take your drinking with you. Different vibe altogether. But at Live, it's kind of... I just wonder what you... I don't know what the question is I want to ask here, but it's almost like, how do you see that in relation to almost... Because we were giving it almost like an inclusivity angle, because I guess, again, I'm just drawing on my experience. This is, I think, why I'm bringing it up, because I've heard... So again, speaking to the guy I was interviewing at St Andrews last week, he alluded to the fact that there were, for probably the first time that he knows, a few skirmishes at Troon this year, and kind of the R&A have maybe got a bit of a turning point moment here to figure out, like, what do we really want this to be from a viewer sort of... I don't know, what do you...
It's a very interesting debate, and undoubtedly the nature of professional golf as it becomes more entertainment focused and tries to grow its popularity, then it will need to offer something different to perhaps what the Open was 10 years ago, when it was almost exclusively serious golf enthusiasts, probably have their, packed lunch in a knapsack, might go and have a couple of pints at the Open Arms, sort of taking a break from walking the fairways, to now where I think there's hospitality is a big thing, sort of people who are sports fans, not necessarily golf fans. I think you particularly see that with the Ryder Cup, and, the Ryder Cup's great atmosphere. It's more probably like a football match than a golf event, if you think of a traditional golf event. I feel there's room for everyone and everything at golf in the world of professional golf. In general, I like people who come to golf, wanting to move the game forward, but also understanding that unless you disrupt, your pace of progress is going to be pretty slow. So I think that it's sad to see some of the fractures in the game at the moment. But I think that, to use that sort of cliche old adage, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. And I think professional golf will be in a better place in 3 or 4 years' time because of what's happening now. Because I, for one, and I know when I speak to a lot of people who I play golf with, I'm a bit bored by professional golf, a bit bored by the endless 72-hole stroke play golf, particularly when you look at the PGA Tour, where it seems, most weeks it seems to be at an identikit golf course. There's a lack of variety. And again, if you think about the DP World Tour, DP World Tour doesn't come to places like Royal Porthcawl. It tends to go to sort of modern resort courses. You look at where, the sort of live events have been, in the UK, obviously JCB, amazing golf course, been very fortunate to play it a few years ago. I think they have probably aspirations to host the Ryder Cup, and I think it'd be an amazing Ryder Cup venue. It's not a, yes, ironically, it is really a members club, because you can't play unless you are, I can't remember exact criteria, but it's not, you can't just rock up and pay a green fee.
Yeah.
It's not a member set up like a Royal Porthcawl, for instance. But I do feel, just as with dress codes and with anything in golf, if it was all one way and no other way, it would be boring. I love playing golf in shorts. I like playing in America in a buggy with music on, having a drink or two. I also like going to black tie dinners at, whether it's Royal Liverpool or up at St Andrews. If I did that every day, I'd be bored of going to black tie dinners, do it 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah. And probably, if I was playing in a buggy, with the music on day in, day out, I'd get bored of that. But I think there's room, and I think the challenge for golf is to, without completely diluting the essence of the game and without treading on trampling over, I would say, the traditions of the game. It does need to evolve in order to attract the next generation of golfers. And I think we're making good progress. Progress could always be quicker. It could probably always be more expansive. But when golf does stuff, the game tends to evolve in quite a considered way, or the sport evolves in quite a considered way. I'd rather that progress was steady, significant and sustainable than, sort of careering into trivializing the game or making it, I don't know, losing the essence of the game, I guess,
Yeah. No, I think it's that famous expression, you kind of have to break a few eggs to make an omelette, right?
Absolutely. I love an omelette as well, so
as do I. Big, absolutely. yeah, absolutely.
What's your favourite type? What's your favourite filling?
I somehow sensed you were going to ask me that. Oh, geez. I go fairly minimal. I don't like to pack it too full. Okay. Maybe a couple of fillings. Maybe like just a bit of cheese in there has to go in. Always. Right? It's got to go in. And maybe some mushrooms. Depends what kind of mood I'm in. Given I'm carrying a few extra pounds at the moment, I'm probably edging more on the vegetarian side of things. So it's not got much ham or beef.
Perhaps just a white egg omelette then. It's got to have cheese in. Probably got to have ham in. If I can be patient enough, I'll cook the mushrooms before. But ham, cheese, and mushroom would be my favourite. I could put a spinach in there as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I just find spinach wilts away to nothing when you cook it, though. Maybe it sets in well in an omelette better. I'll try it out. Don't knock it till you've tried it.
No, well, have you chatted about spinach before on the podcast, or is it a new topic?
I don't think I have. It's new, but it's uncharted territory, and I'm all for that.
It feels like spinach is definitely a health food. So on a podcast called Golf Yourself Healthy, there's got to be room for a small segment about spinach.
I agree with you entirely. Nothing's off limits so long as it anchors back to health, and that's good. I'm all for it. So I guess if you can give a bit of a high level flavour to the listener on your favourite type of spinach. No, is your what you do professionally, Mike?
Okay, so I am content director for ball sports at Future, who are one of the biggest publishing companies in the world. We've got over 200 brands covering everything from golf, football and rugby, which are three brands that, or three areas of content that I look after, to we're massive in tech and gaming, brands like PC Gamer, T3, Tom's Guide, Tech Radar, really big in fashion as well, brands like Marie Claire, Who What Wear, interiors as well, Living, etc. Can they're sort of household names. Probably people haven't maybe heard of the parent company, Future, but that's who I work for. I was editor of Golf Monthly for 17 years, from 2006 to summer of last year. I handed over to Neil Tappin, who was my very, very patient number two for all of those 17 years. I think he kept thinking, when's this guy going to let me have a go with the train set? So Neil's doing an incredible job now as editor of Golf Monthly, got a great team. So I oversee Golf Monthly, 442, great, amazing football brand, and Rugby World, which is great, famous rugby brand as well. So very lucky. I've always been a journalist, started off as a football writer, moved into men's and women's lifestyle writing. Yeah, not looking at me, you wouldn't think that I worked for Men's Health, but worked for Men's Health for a number of years and some of the big women's titles, and then came back to sport and been in golf since 2001. And it's wonderful. It's just amazing, such a privilege, and so fortunate to do a job where I'm creating content or working with content creators, creating content about stuff I love. I'm a huge sports fan, been playing golf since the age of 17, so it's a dream job.
Well, I was going to ask you, you've answered the question. You were into golf. You were a golfer before you came into the golf content world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was relatively late to the game. I always sort of say no regrets in life, apart from the fact that I didn't play golf as a junior. I love that idea of sort of, chat to some of my colleagues, sort of Neil, who's the editor, and he's been playing golf. Comes from a family of golfers, been playing golf since about 5, and we talk about being dropped off at the club in the summer holidays and sort of play 72 holes, and only break to have a portion of chips and a can of Coke and perhaps a chipping. I would have loved to have done that. And of course, actually now, I have lots of regrets in my life, but, probably still, I'd have loved to have played golf as a junior, sort of carefree days. Not necessarily to think I would have been a better golfer than I am now, but I just love golf so much. It's sort of, felt like I missed out on, whatever sort of, 10 years of it.
Well, let's talk about the sort of almost like the evolution of your relationship with golf, and this central theme on the, Golf Yourself Healthy podcast of golf being good for you. So, what's golf been to you throughout life? What's it given to you?
Oh, crikey. Everything, really. Pretty much everything. It's given me a career, obviously. It's given me some amazing friendships. A lot of my closest, friendships are through golf, or I maintain them through golf. Met a lot of people who've become friends, in the golf industry, or something like you. Golf is the thing that has sort of helped bring us together. And yeah, it's taken me to some amazing places. I always say there's no such thing as a bad golf course. Some are just better than others. But I love playing wherever. Chance to play golf is, such a privilege. We're so lucky to be able to do it. It's a wonderful sport. Gives you time outside in beautiful places. Chance to talk to people, chance to compete with other people or against yourself, or to have that time on your own. I love a solo 9 holes of golf, great thinking time. And I think as I've got older, golf has meant different things to me. For a long time, I wouldn't say I was really competitive. I wanted to get better. I sort of was fixated on lowering my handicap. I was really bothered about the sort of scores that I was shooting. Yeah, so I think for quite a while, I was really fixated on, getting better, winning a monthly medal. I remember one year, actually, I talked about it earlier, the Cornish Masters, this sort of tour that go on. It's, it's a group of 16 sort of, middle-aged men. Obviously, we've been playing for 25 years, so we were in our mid-20s when we started, and they're all sort of, around the 50-year-old mark now. And I remember one year being really, really obsessed about winning it. I've won it twice. You get a charity shop brown jacket and a pretty rubbish trophy. So it's nothing to write home about. And it's not like you're going to retire on the winnings. You might win a few quid. And I remember playing the first round at Burnham and Barrow, amazing golf course, not far actually, in fact just across the English Channel.
Yeah.
Maybe on a clear day you can see it, I think. I remember playing the first round really, really, really badly, and I went and sat in my car after the round and I cried, and it's like, get a grip. This, and it was because it meant that much to me at the time.
Yeah.
Now, we almost celebrate who's had the worst round, and I have had a couple of shockers in there. I think the lowest ever points total was something like 6 points. That particular patron, as we call them, was sort of, I think, definitely feeling the worse for wear from the night before. But yeah, but now golf, maybe it's a bit of a cliche. I just sort of feel like it's not about the score. It's about who you play with and where you play. And actually, I find I enjoy the game of golf so much more having that attitude. I still love it when I play well. Never hit a good shot. It's like, great, I can do it. But if I hit a bad shot, and I will hit bad shots when we're out there today, it's like, fine. You lose a golf ball. We were obviously at Prince's with Ben. We did our Sands charity challenge back in May, wasn't it? May, or was it June?
Mid-June, wasn't it? Yeah.
Summer's gone quickly. We lost an awful lot of golf balls. And if you benchmarked your enjoyment of the game by how many, how few golf balls you lost, golf would make you pretty unhappy. Because
yeah, definitely.
Particularly this summer in the UK with the, wet and then warm weather we've had. I'm sure, again, looking out there, the rough looks pretty fearsome. I think keep it on the short stuff. So I've had this evolving relationship with the game. I probably let it, because it's sort of, work and my hobby merge, I've let golf from time to time, I've let it take too big a part in my life, and that's undoubtedly, caused pressures in my relationship. I'm getting divorced at the moment. I won't say golf is to blame solely, but it's definitely one of the reasons why I wasn't able to probably detach myself enough from golf. I was always sort of, I'll play this weekend, and I sort of would, I don't know, either justify it to myself or to, my ex-wife say, but it's really important I do it for work. I remember one year when we were doing our top 100 rankings, I came up with the ridiculous idea that I was going to write a feature on playing every open rota course. And I was away so much, so many weekends, sort of travelling. It's like, oh, I'm just here, and then I've got to go there. And my wife was saying, really? And I said, oh yeah, really important. I've got to write this piece. In the end, it was 1 page in the supplement. And it's sort of, I think, I look back at that and I talk about having regrets. I really regret how much I let golf take over my life and the impact it's had, that I was a sort of, absent father and husband too often because of golf. My inability to sort of say no to a game of golf. So, yeah, however, I guess you sort of live and learn. One of my goals at the moment is to play less golf. I'm not doing. Anybody who follows me on social media will know I'm not doing very well at that. But actually, do you know what? Therein lies a story as well, because golf, I use golf as a, say it's often the platform to sort of reconnect with or to connect with friends. And I suppose I could just go and see people, turn up, going up to Liverpool where I've got a lot of friends, or whatever, Yorkshire, just come and see for the weekend. But if we're both into golf, it's like, well, let's have a game of golf. Because I love the way that golf gives you 3 to 4 hours of quality time with somebody else.
Yeah,
it's amazing as a for business, but even better for friendship. I think people will tell you things on the golf course that maybe they wouldn't tell you unless they'd had a few drinks. I think it provides that platform as a place to open up, to share how you're feeling, talk about things. I think the fact that you walk side by side, rather than necessarily sit over a table and have to look at somebody, I think it that's one of the many qualities that golf gives, is that sort of time and space with which to talk about how you're feeling. And it's been really important for me. I went through a pretty difficult period in my life. I guess I'm still coming out of it now. Sort of my job changing, as I said, it took me quite even though it's totally the right thing to do, it took me quite a long time to come to terms with my new role. I'm a bit of a control freak. I like being at the centre of things. I'm a typical Leo. Having to take that step back, I found difficult. It was at the same time as my marriage was breaking up. My daughter left home, which is, a great thing. And then my dog died as well. So yeah, had a pretty difficult time of it this was sort of last summer, last autumn. I got into a pretty bad place. Golf helped me get out of that. Not so just by going out and being outside and playing golf, because that's just physical exercise. Yes, it gives you time to think about things. Actually, maybe it gave me, if I was playing on my own, a bit too much time to ruminate about stuff. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, it kept me in contact with my friends, and they could see, he's not quite right. And people would ask, everything okay? They knew what I was sort of going through off the golf course, if you like. I have a great friend at my home club, Hartley Whitney in Hampshire, and he'd often just send me a message and just went, everything in order, Michael? And that was it. That's all he'd say. And that was his way of checking in with me. And it's like, sometimes if stuff was fine, I go, yeah, all fine, or no, it's a bit crap at the moment. And that might then, when we next played golf, we'd sort of get into it a bit more. So yeah, golf is a crutch for me, but a good one. I think you can get rid of your frustrations in, far more, destructive ways than going and playing golf.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, look, I mean, first, I always appreciate when someone chooses to share at the level you have, because, amongst other things, it gives me a chance to reflect on how, for instance, well, a couple of things, Mike. So one, just this, I've just started writing an article about golf societies and more the likes of your Cornish masters that you describe. And for me, they have, it's one of those things, isn't it? Until you sit down like we are now and you're reflecting on it and you're talking about it and seeing what it means to you, or when you sit down with a piece of paper or whatever and start putting down in words what these things mean to you. I think for me, the likes of, say, your Cornish masters is some of my favourite experiences in golf, because there's something, and the crux of that article I'm writing is about the understated value for men's mental health, I think. And it leads me into my second point with what you're sharing about your relationship. And, you know, my wife, Kim, and I have been speaking a bit about this recently. Again, you know, some listeners will know, others won't. You know, Mike and I have spoken before, and we have this kind of shared experience of baby loss in common and the complications and that creates in a relationship. Kim and I have, you know, we now are pregnant again. We're expecting a baby girl in November, and I am determined for history not to repeat itself, Mike, in so much as when we got a dog 3 years ago, the selfish prick in me said to my wife, I'm not changing my golf habits just because we're getting a dog.
Yeah.
Do you not know how much golf means to me, you know? And so I think we've been having some very frank conversations about got to get your priorities straight. And I think these kind of events, I've got to pick and choose in future when I play my golf, and I'll probably prioritise those. Yeah,
definitely. You know? Definitely. And I think, you know, if I look at my marriage breaking up, you know, my ex-wife would say, I should have just been firmer with you, you know, and it's sort of, I respond well to being given ground rules of being told, yes, you can do that. No, you can't do that.
Me too.
And I think everybody does, really. And then it's sort of, you know, at least you know what the red line is. And it's like, if you choose to cross it, do that at your own peril. And I'm not sort of trying to absolve myself of any, you know, I guess, you know, sort of blame in sort of how things have turned out. But I think, you know, my ex-wife and I have chatted a lot about it. You know, we're still very good friends, and, you know, we'll sort of say, if that happened, and, you know, losing, you know, baby loss, that had a huge effect on, you know, on our relationship. We can't not losing two children, you know, definitely played, you know, a significant element in the mental health challenges that my daughter had in her teenage years, and then the impact that then had on my wife and I's relationship. And yeah, it's just, you know, it's sort of, if I'd have done half the talking to my wife that maybe I did to my friends when I was playing golf, you know, wouldn't be. Anyway, you know, we are where we are. For me, life's pretty good at the moment. I'm enjoying all aspects of my life, and golf has helped me get back in a better place. It's not the silver bullet, and I think it's really important to, if you are going through significant challenges in your life, going for a game of golf is not going to fix everything. It might give you the platform to have a chat with somebody, a friend, who then you might go, okay, well, yeah, that's really helped. Or you might then, as I did, actually thought, do you know what, I need to go and get some professional help, and I did. But it's interesting, my sort of therapist and my GP both said, you play golf, that's a good thing, you know. If I'd go, I'm off to the pub every Saturday, it's like, yeah, that's not particularly, I guess, constructive way of dealing with your problems. Yeah, you might end up talking to your mates, but, you know, it's sort of, yeah, the sort of health benefits of, you know, going and playing golf versus going to the pub and getting drunk. Yeah, we know which one wins.
No, definitely. There's a question, maybe a final one on well-being I'm going to ask you before we get into some of our segments, and then we'll wrap up and make our way to the first tee. But there is, in things you've already shared in this conversation, in things I've got to know about you and or things you've shared with me in previous conversations, the job that you do does require, you know, an amount of travel, I think, almost whether you like it or not. And it's, I think, or I've come to understand that the industry that you're in, it comes with its own pressures in terms of whether it's deadline driven or target driven or whatever it is, right? And so with that combination of all those factors, like, what do you do? What have you learned about your well-being? What are the things, you're almost like your non-negotiables that you've got to have to do for yourself to look after yourself?
It's really interesting. So it's sort of, it was the parting thing that my therapist and I talked about when I had my last session with her, which was, I think it was May, and we sort of went through, I guess, a sort of checklist of things to be aware of. And she said to me, right, Mike, I'll leave you with this one thought. If things are going badly, do something about it, as I always have done. But also, if things are going really well, don't keep your foot to the floor. So her thing was, take your foot off the gas, or at least just touch the brake now and then. And just to also to understand that nothing lasts forever. Whether it's, you're on a good run, we got the wind at your back, it's like, it ain't always going to be like that. And it's not, I would find it very difficult to live my life always thinking something, disaster is around the corner. That's not me, that's not my personality. Some people are very aware of next thing could be danger around the corner, and I think makes you sort of more prepared for it. But also to know that when things are bad, it will pass. And I didn't think it was going to pass. Terrible anxiety and depression that I was, sort of in the midst of over the winter. The weather didn't help. So a non-negotiable for me is getting out of the house and getting some whatever passes for sunlight in the UK in the winter. And of course those, we missed a lot of those lovely clear cold days that, and of course, lost the dog last, a year ago, so didn't have a dog to take for a walk. And then when the weather is, work from home, it's like, got to get out, got to go and do some sort of exercise. And if, the golf course is shut, go for a walk or go to the gym or go for a bike ride, whatever. That's definitely a non-negotiable. But it's sort of, I think it's being aware that mental health it's a continuum. You're not, you're at some point on that continuum at any point in time. And yeah, a great friend of mine from Royal Liverpool always said to me, something I know his mum had said to him, it won't always be dark at 4:00. I really like that. Yeah. And as somebody who, definitely as I've got older, I think I've, sort of experienced seasonal affective disorder. It's definitely impacted me more as I've got older. And that sort of, it's pretty grim, isn't it? At 4:00 when it feels like the day's done and you're like, okay, right, well, when have we got dinner? And then what point am I going to bed? Whereas you're in the summer, go out for a game of golf, particularly if you're in the west of the country or up in Scotland, go have a game at 8:00 and you probably still get round in that, in high summer. And I think, it's just to understand that life is about peaks and troughs, and that when you're at a peak, enjoy it, but it won't always be like that. And then when you're in a trough, try and help yourself to get out of that trough, but that, the cloud will lift. It won't always be dark at 4:00. All of those sort of, things that sound like cliches. But take action, I think, you can't just hope that things will, because if you just allow things to get better on their own accord, it will probably take longer. Yeah. I think those sort of interventions, speaking to a friend or getting professional help, and it's the same if you had a physical ailment, that you can either hope it will clear up of its own accord, we can go and see your GP and say, actually, I've got this thing, whatever it is, my leg hurts, I've got this itch, got this rash, whatever. Yeah. Can you help accelerate the recovery process? But I love the thing my therapist said, take your foot off the gas, or at least just touch the brake now and then.
Yeah, love that. Have you got a sad lamp? You ever tested it?
I haven't, but people have talked about it.
Yeah, my mum got me one.
Okay. Good.
Recommend it. Yeah.
Tremendous.
Absolutely. Yeah, very good. Very blinding to begin with, but it definitely, that's what they're for, the seasonal affective disorder. Okay. It takes the edge off it. They're good.
I should give it a go, because again, one way of dealing with it is go overseas somewhere sunny, but it's not really
not always the most economically viable
exactly.
Option.
Yeah.
The eagle has landed, Mike.
Yeah.
You know this segment, I think, by now. Have you got a golf shot of yours that lives long in the memory?
Yeah, I have actually. It was down at Royal North Devon, Westward Ho, the cradle of English golf. Amazing place. I'm very lucky to be a member there. And we're playing in the Club Silver Medal, which is, I think, one of the oldest club competitions in England. Teed off last. Again, it was probably at a point where maybe I was playing off about 6, something like that. 6.2 is the lowest I've ever got. And went in full of expectation. Started off, so it's quite a difficult start, R&D. And I think I started off double, quadruple, double.
Oh.
So I was 8 overs. I'd already done my handicap and probably the buffer, stood on the 5th tee. And I'd driven all the way down from London, where I was living at the time. And I thought, right, you're going to have to knuckle down, because otherwise you're going to shoot millions. And 18th hole, tough hole at Royal North Devon, I sort of got it back on track. And I think, I maybe had only dropped another one or two shots, or really gritty golf, really grinding it out, getting up and down, holding sort of 10-footers for par and stuff. And I hit a 6-iron into the last, and I hit the flag, came to rest about 6-7 foot away, hold the putt for a birdie to make the buffer. So my handicap didn't go. And that's one thing I have to say I really miss about the new handicapping system. I miss the buffer so much, because a lot of the time that was what I was playing for, like grind it out, get it in the buffer so you wouldn't go up.
Yeah.
Now that the buffer's not a thing. So that probably for me is it is my most memorable shot, because it was just about digging deep. We were the last group out, last two out, and actually the guy I played with came in with the lowest gross score. He wasn't a member, so he couldn't win the tournament, which we still laugh about now. For this, hello Nick, if you're listening in New Zealand, I know that still grates with you 20 years on, or whatever it is.
Do you know what I love about that story especially is it talks to that resilience that golf gives you the opportunity to engage with it, whether you like it or not. It's kind of, because I lose count of the number of times that, I struggle with competitive golf and like medals and things anyway, because I want it too much, but actually to hear that you had that ability just to grind and to dig in is, it's great. That just, again, I don't think it's contrived. That's one of the things that golf can teach you so much, is that skill of resilience, Oh,
totally. And also it's like it's like if I'd have stood there on the 5th tee, which is a lovely par 3 at R&D, in fact, I'd love to have my ashes scattered, top of the 5th green, 6th tee, which looks out over, out to the Atlantic. Amazing spot. If I'd have just stood there, mate over, that's it, done for, give up. I thought, actually, just one hole at a time. I think I made par at that par 3. That then felt like, okay, that gave me a little platform to go on and play the 6th, and just started chipping away at it. Cliche, one shot at a time. And that's all you can do. Golf teaches you to be in the moment, because you can't. You might have hit the world's best shot or the world's worst shot previously. That's gone. It's done.
That's right.
Unless you've holed out for an amazing shot, or, it's sort of on with the next one.
Yeah, totally love that. You remind me of an old tennis coach that I had that used to say, a German guy called Rob Bennett, the least German sounding name you've ever heard. But he used to teach at the Aberdeen Westburn Centre. He'd say, the last point is history.
Totally.
And it's so true.
Totally.
Let's round this out just with cut it out. Is there anything... I imagine there's probably a few things maybe about golf that grind your gears sometimes, Mike. But if there's one thing in particular that you could just eradicate from the game, or not even so much eradicate, maybe it's a question of, could we do this thing a little bit differently?
I'll give you one really specific thing. I think that the rules of golf they're complicated, but when you understand that you're dealing with every single pitch or playing surface is different, you have to legislate, the rules have to legislate the fact it's such a different setting that every golfer plays in. It's a complicated game. I think the R&A and the USGA have done a really good job of simplifying the rules of golf. The one thing that I would love to see is that out of bounds was not penalised by stroke and distance, that you could go up and drop at the point of entry, or a relevant place, and you weren't then faced with the same shot, because I just feel like that's punitive for being punitive, sort of sake. And I think penalty areas, how those evolved, are good. I like it when clubs introduce a local rule, as they did mid-round when we were at Prince's. You remember, it's like, if you hit it in, we got the email through from Sam, the club manager, to say, unless you're in a competition, if it's in the long grass, treat it as a penalty area, drop outside, but don't feel like you've got to walk back to the tee, because nothing worse than slow. Actually, there is something worse than slow golf. It's looking for golf balls, but looking for golf balls causes slow golf.
Definitely.
I hate looking for golf balls. And I suppose that then plays into the other thing, is like, where possible, I know it puts an extra pull on greenkeeper, course manager time, but I cannot be doing with long rough under trees. The penalty is you're in the trees. Don't then cause additional frustration and make it doubly difficult to get out from the trees by leaving long, where possible, try not to have long grass under tree. that penalty. So those are sort of, I guess, quite specific golfy things. I hope that we can develop what I call gateway products to golf. I think things like Top Golf, Top Tracer, short golf, pitch and putt, brilliant, great entry points into the game of golf. And the more we can do, because it is really difficult as a beginner golfer going from probably the range to a full-size golf course, be it 9 or 18 holes, and you stand there on the first tee and you look at the flag, it's probably 400 yards. I think, how am I getting from here to there? And you've probably got people on the tee tutting or looking at their watch or whatever. And I think if there was, and I know that the RNA are helping to pioneer this with the Golf It facility up in Glasgow.
Yep. Again,
looking at more accessible gateway, sort of platforms for people to get into the game. That's, I think that businesses should see it as a great opportunity. It's a great, golf is an amazing family sport. It's a bit like, when you go 10-pin bowling, you can put the guardrails up, or I'm trying to think of another example. I don't know, when you go swimming and you start off in the kids' pool and then you work your way up to that, it's sort of, I think golf is a really hard, it takes a long time to get to the point where golf is more often enjoyable than frustrating, and even, playing golf for as long as we have, it's like golf will from time to time be very frustrating. I think if we could, that's something that I would like the game of golf, and it's not just about the governing bodies or the home unions doing it, it's like everybody's responsible for it. Make the game of golf, the access and that entry level, top of the funnel, whatever you want to call it, make it wider, make it easy to get into. It's not about dumbing down golf, it's about keeping that pipeline of golfers, because otherwise we will, my word, if it hadn't been for COVID, I think the game of golf would be in a very, very different place to where it is now. COVID, horrendous though it was for the world, and obviously, many lives lost. If you just, put that to, asking you a big thing to put that to one side, it provided some incredible shot in the arm for golf. We've done pretty well to build on that. But I think there's more. We shouldn't just rest on laurels and go, okay, more people are playing golf now than they were pre-COVID. Yeah, but it's an amazing game. I'm passionate about wanting other people to get into golf, to get some of the the benefits that I've had. Made me incredible friendships. Sort of contributed to my physical, mental well-being. Taken me to some amazing places, given me loads of laughs. Life can be pretty tough at times. Golf gives you the chance to step away from that, and anything that the game can do to give more people a chance to try golf, great.
Good thing. Amen to all of that. Well, let's head to the first tee and hit them straight, hopefully.
Good luck with that, right?
Mike, thanks very, very much again.
Chris, has been brilliant. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the pod. Been a lot of fun chatting to you.
Been great having you back. Until the next time. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and feel inspired to go out there and continue to golf yourself healthy. Remember, if you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to follow the show on your preferred podcast platform, and maybe also leave us a 5-star review wherever you feel it's merited. Also, you can head over to golfyourselfhealthy.com, where by filling in your contact details in the contact tab, you can sign up for future newsletters and updates. Until the next time, remember to always embrace the rough and forever cherish the fairway.